I just took the opportunity and was like, hey, people, you can make it up to me by coming on my podcast. And then he did. He showed up. And so it was really exciting. Jack Dorsey was in there for a little bit. It blew up. There was 1,000 people. At the time, I think it was probably one of the biggest Twitter spaces ever held and probably my highlight. And ever since then, I've been on the decline. So thanks a lot, people.
You peaked too early, Carl. You peaked too early.
Way too early.
I thought the damn show was your peak, Carl. I don't know what you're talking about. Beeple.
This is my comeback, baby.
Welcome, everybody, back to the Damn Show. Once again, I have Maybe. Maybe, how's it going?
Hello. Hi. I'm doing great. Doing great.
And, of course, we have Diamond Hands. Gonna make it. What's up, Diamond?
Chilling. Excited to get this show going. Here we go.
Yeah, it's an exciting show because we have the one, the only crazy crypto Carl. If you don't know, Carl was the very first person to have Beeple on a Twitter space. Carl has his own NFT collection called the Crazy Carl Collective. He's an non-Web3 experiment, and he's just all around a fun time. He comes into the Discord on 10KTF and throws it down, and we love having him and his energy. And so really excited to have on Carl. Carl, how's it going?
Oh, hey, I heard that this was sponsored by Boss Wolf, so I thought I'd go ahead and give him a little shout out. So that's the only one because I really don't like Boss Wolf. As you know, I'm in a rival game.
Right, yeah, the Gutter Cats versus the Boss Wolves. So, I mean, you got to watch your back with your Gutter Cats if they hear that first bit because that's a little dicey.
I've been talking to press. We're going to have to do a little community education event for the Gutter Cats because I'm not real happy with the representation the gang's throwing out in the 10KTF. So we're going to work on that.
Love to hear it. And so we can start off the show really by jumping into 10KTF because you may not know, but in the same way that Franklin is, I think he holds 59 Bored Apes. He's pushing 59 apes. Crazy Crypto Carl is pushing 60 Gucci Grails, 60 Gucci clots. Like, this guy is an absolute animal. So we have a lot to cover, and we want to talk about the Gucci drop that just happened. So maybe or Diamond, either of you, please, if any of you guys want to set up what happened this past week in 10KTF, please jump in.
It was crazy. First of all, I want to say thank you to all the people that set up Twitter spaces. Like, we went crazy this week. There was so much content around 10KTF, starting from the campfire from atareh. It was amazing. So many stories from the past days. Then we got community spaces that helped like other communities learn about 10KTF. And then obviously the 10KTFM radio, which was on Thursday. I loved it. It was amazing. It was like 1 hour after we got the drop, I believe it started. And this Thursday was incredible. Midori started the Thursday party in the 10KTF Discord, started with the Timbo Gang song, which I recommend everyone to share, listen to, enjoy it because it's amazing. Especially read all of the text because there is so much 10KTF story and, memes and stuff you're going to understand about the project. It's amazing. And so we partied hard until, as always, I think 6 p.m. East when we started getting tweet. We had a tweet about Gucci. So the good thing is that when the missions ended, we had like the mission ending at 6 p.m. East. When the mission ended, everyone we were able to go to Battle.town and see our rewards. And surprise, surprise, we were able to claim 1 Gucci material per Gucci Grail that we registered for the mission. So if you're like Crazy Carl and you have 60 Gucci Grail, you could claim 60 Gucci materials. And that was amazing. I had 2 myself. I was so happy to claim my 2 materials. And what's very interesting about this material is that it's called material. Like, if you read the description and also in the NFT image, you will see that it talks about physicals. Also on the right side, where usually we have the level of the material, like right now we have level 1. In this case, it didn't say level 1, but it was saying physical. So guys, Are we getting Gucci physicals for free or what's going on here? That looks amazing. And one thing I want to say about this is that when we first got the Gucci Mint Pass airdropped to some of us in March, when we had just before we had the Gucci partnership, many of us before, like when we saw the Wagmi-san had this pattern in the camera strap, many of us were thinking that the airdrop was gonna be a Gucci material. In my head, I had this as airdrop. Like I was sure that it was gonna be this that we see right now. I was like, okay, they're gonna airdrop a Gucci material. We're gonna craft Gucci stuff. We're gonna have maybe high tops with this pattern or hoodies with this pattern. But then they airdrop the ball. You remember, right? The mint ball, and we were like, okay, this is a completely different thing. I was expecting a material, to be honest, but it's so cool to see it now because it means that we were all already into how the team thinks and how the team, sorry, I got distracted. I hear something. So we knew already what the team was gonna do because, you know, we were expecting this. But that was incredible. I think it's selling for 0.4 ETH at the moment. So that's crazy value that they gave to us for being, you know, so loyal and continuing to being engaged and registering in Battle.town every week. So yeah, this what happened with the airdrop, and then we got also some tweets.
Yeah, let's jump into that. We're definitely not saved. He was right. It's time for the mech, but the mech is not ready. And we know, like, the mech is how we fight the Kaiju, right? The team has told us within this previous storyline that the mech is how we're going to fight the Kaiju. We also know that, like, the ultimate power is something that's, like, lingering out here that we're unsure exactly what it is, right? So it's something that we're still keeping in the back of our minds, but we have been told that the ultimate power will help to fight the Kaiju as well. You got them, Wen says? All 6? Yep, his most faithful friends. Okay, the heist money. Next week? That's very soon. Okay. And we'll need more for future missions too. Why? Because we're fighting a fucking kaiju. That's why. And so, like, Wen's telling this story to someone on the other line, right? We know that Wagmi got dumped all those materials a couple weeks ago, right? And so, like, keeping all these things into consideration, there's been a few different speculations around what the 6 could be, right? He says his most faithful friends. We've thought that maybe that's part of the people who participated in each mission that got the little badge and the PO-ops that have been participating in Battle.town. It could mean that. It could be speaking of 6 faithful members in the community, but, like, that's not Wagmi, so we'll have to see what that looks like, right? Or could it be talking about the original 6 PFP parent blue chip NFT projects that were brought into the project at its original inception? There's a few different things that could be in play, and because the team never really tells us what's going on, right? We're all trying to figure out and speculate in between these lines right now. So it keeps us on edge for next Thursday. There's plenty to look forward to, folks.
Carl, what is your speculation on what Wen Moons when she says you got them all 6? Yep, his most faithful friends.
This first thing I had heard the first time, Diamond Hands, you were talking about the original 6 PFP projects, which is really interesting. I haven't heard that one before. I had always assumed it was the 6 missions that we had been on. But like anything with 10KTF, there's always riddles and mystery. Maybe it's the 6 missions, but one thing that I love about the community is that everyone's constantly trying to guess and figure out what's going on. And that's what I really love about these spaces. It helps kind of speculate and people are able to kind of push back. And that's one thing I love doing in the Discord is just asking everyone what their thesis is, what their theory is. And I think it's amazing because we never know. And so we all just have to brainstorm what we think is going to happen.
The only pushback I have against the 6 missions is that we haven't been on 6 missions. We've been on 7, right? So yes, that's why I was like, I don't think it's related to the 6 missions because, again, there's 7. And then Brandon actually DM'd me about the 6 PFP projects. And he said, when we originally were talking about that on the space, I want to say it was the A-Bomb and Modest space, the 10KTF M1. Brandon messaged me saying I didn't include Bored Ape Kennel Club in the original counting. So he's like, there's 7. And I'm like, that's true. Good point. However, World of Women did come after, like a couple days after. So maybe it still applies. it's hard to say, honestly.
The Oni
because
as well was after.
True, yeah. So that maybe only puts us at 5 PFP projects as the initial. So yeah, like this is part of the discussion, right? It's this constant back and forth.
I heard a very interesting one. You remember the Wagmi-san had 6 rolls of film in that old picture that we were always talking about?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, it's kind of an interesting coincidence that those are 6. And also the fact that we had like 6 snapshots.
I'm not gonna lie, it's been so long. I don't even know how many snapshots we've had. Like,
the thing,
because like for that long hold where we got the NTD, Nikki said in the chat that like NTD is just like one of the things that you'll be able to claim from this long hold snapshot. And so like adding in all these pieces, like I said, I've been trying to talk like around like, you know, most projects will come out with 1 or 2 items that you'll get airdropped, you know, something like that, maybe 1 extra 20,000 PFP set that gets dropped to you. You know, that's the general build that's happening. I really appreciate that 10KTF, it feels like they're trying something different, and the fact that like we're about to get a lot of stuff, like 6 snapshots stacked up, right? Like dumped onto our necks. Like, and then we're gonna have to figure out what to do with those and probably start trying to help Wagmi in a fast way, right? And so I'm very excited to watch this. I think we're gonna have a moment of hyperization that's coming around the corner for us. If you think it's been busy lately, buckle up, y'all. Hold on to your shorts. I really think that once this airdrop, once these claims and everything comes through, we're gonna get cooking with 10KTF, and I can't freaking wait, y'all.
I love that because I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think the narrative around Wind Moon plays into that a lot too, right? Like, I feel like everyone's waiting and it's like Wind Moon is when's she going to come? And when Moon does come, it's just like, you know, they talked about how a few months ago, how things were going to get batshit crazy. And I think that's kind of, I think there was probably my philosophy is that there was some things in the background that they were trying to work out or timing wise getting things figured out that kind of put things on a different trajectory. But I think when Moon begins, it just continues. I mean, I think we'll see just like heavy gameplay. Kind of, it reminds you of last year when the project started. It felt like for like a month and a half, a couple months, it was just like nonstop news, like big news. And then, you know, people got used to that. But I think that has to happen as they evolve the chapters, right? Because like the storyline continues. And so you need new materials and things like that. And I think that's going to continue to happen over the course of the project, because one thing that is so cool is seeing how they're incorporating real world retailers and stuff. Imagine if anyone who continues to hold Gucci Grails, like every season they get another physical, or, you know, so you kind of have all of these factors playing in, and we all know that Gucci is not going to be the only big brand that's involved in the story play, and there's so many others that haven't even kind of been introduced yet. But I love what you said too about that there's 7 missions that we've been on, because I was thinking about that too, and the only thing I could think of is maybe the one mission that wouldn't count was the one that was sprung up on everyone. But I feel like the team tries to point you thinking something's going to happen, and then something else happens. So that's because that's like the first thing people thought. I do think that it could be something else. And one thing that they've been hinting at is that they're going to be doing that the backpacks have been burned, or you're going to be throwing in. And if it does relate to the 6 Genesis, because we all know from the very beginning, Wagmi talked about Genesis as king. So if we've kind of been waiting to figure out what that means. So this could be an opportunity for the team to show something about those Genesis items. And I also think the team is really good at trying to make things deflationary. And as we know, Genesis is the biggest bag of the 10KTF items. So if they're able to reduce that by any means, it's going to create a higher kind of supply crunch for Genesis items. And I think that's smart, because when you go to, if Genesis is king, when you go to OpenSea, you shouldn't be able to buy Genesis on the floor. And that's what has always been the case, and why I was so bullish early on. I felt like people just like, you could buy Genesis in January for 0.1 ETH. And I was just like, that's when I was doing a lot of the sweeping that I did back then. Because I was like, eventually this is going to play out and these items are going to become more valuable. But even though the floors have risen, you still see those Genesis items sitting there. And I think, you know, something has to happen for that to change. And I think, you know, we could be seeing that play out in the next few weeks.
Speaking of, oh God. Right. So speaking of Genesis, if you want to win a Genesis, the grateful, generous Boss Wolf has sponsored the damn show. He purposely cut my face off with his stupid banner, so I have to do this to speak. If you want to win a Genesis, we're going to be posting a clip onto Twitter. You got to like and retweet that and follow so that you can win one of 4 Genesis this week. We're going to be having a World of Women backpack. So let me show you exactly what that looks like. You're going to see the state of the wallet that Boss Wolf gave me. He gave me this wallet, and it looked like this. He was like, here you go. Here is the wallet with the Genesis prize. Look at this. Are you kidding me? This is literally the wallet that he gave me, just to remind me that, hey, I'm the one that did this. I'm the one that's giving these out. You guys are lucky that I'm gracing you. We're going to be giving away this World of Women Day pack. So like and retweet when you see it, and you might win this day pack. Thank you, Boss Wolf, for your generosity.
Thank you, Boss
Back
Wolf.
to the show.
I ain't groveling for shit, Boss Wolf.
Yeah, we're done groveling. If you win, just go ahead and send that straight to the burn wall. You don't need that. We don't need any bribe money.
Damien, you got to be careful. He might be coming for you like he came for you that first week. I'll cut this and I'll put that clip of when he attacked you and almost bit your head off. So watch out.
Wow.
So back to what we were talking about before Boss Wolf so rudely interrupted us. So Carl, you were saying that there's a lot of conviction on Genesis, but you also have a lot of conviction on the Gucci Grails. I would love to hear more about some of the thinking. For the listeners that don't know, Carl, also known as Gucci Carl in the Discord, maybe he's changed that now, but he went on a Gucci shopping spree. He bought a bunch of Gucci Grails back, I want to say, in April and May, because his conviction was really high. And that's paying off now because he got airdropped a bunch of Gucci material, which we still don't know what that's for. And so I'd love to hear more about your thinking behind that and some of your conviction, Carl.
There's a few things. I mean, I go heavy into anything with 10KTF. So it's and I was telling Fig this too, is more the reason I was buying Gucci 10KTF stuff is because of 10KTF, not Gucci. I shop at Target and Walmart, so I don't really care about Gucci clothes. But if it's going to help me on missions or, you know, help me with something in the 10KTF ecosystem, I'm all for that. And one thing that whenever I do research in any sort of project, something that I encourage anyone to look at is unique ownership. And it was probably one of the best executed in terms of unique ownership that I've ever seen. They got all the parent projects involved. They got the Gucci Grails involved. And when you look at it, there's like 4,200 items and 3,100 of those are in unique wallets. So you're talking about like over 70% unique ownership. And no one has that, you know, not even Bored Apes, Mutants, nothing. You never see that high unique ownership. And what that means, you know, is if there's demand for it, it's just hard to get them because the people that really want them are going to hold on to them. So it may not play out for a while, but once there's heavy demand, they're going to be hard to get their hands on because the people that own them don't have a lot of them to kind of sell off. So that's the first thing. I always thought people were kind of sleeping on Gucci, but then around the time that Other Side was coming out, there was a lot of speculation about Genesis items, about 10KTF items, maybe playing into getting Other Side deeds, or, you know, because we all had seen the Coda juice. And so around that time, 10KTF started rolling. We finally started seeing a lot of volume, and Genesis items, I think we had a floor of like 1.2, 1.3, and Genesis items were going for at least 1.4 for a while. And so I had saw that as an opportunity because everyone was still ignoring Gucci Grails. And I was like, if I can trade one to one ratio for Gucci Grails, it seems like too good of a deal. So I was just selling Genesis items and going straight and using that money to buy Gucci Grails. And I probably sold 50 Genesis at that time and picked up about 50 Gucci Grails. And so that was when the real conviction moment. I kept seeing people on the list, and I couldn't believe that the most anyone held was like 30. I was like, that's really not that many. So I started sweeping them, and I mean, if you look at the top 10 people that hold Gucci Grails. After the top 10, it goes down to like 6 or 7. So just it was just like, you know, I came into the ecosystem a little later because I was bitter that gutter cats weren't involved early on. So I that was like my big bag back in last September, October. So I was a little bitter about that, and I didn't really get heavy, but I've always been watching. So January came around, and there's all these whales that, you know, I look up to a lot now in the 10K TF ecosystem that have been around since back then. But I was like, this was new, and I felt like a lot of the big whales were sleeping on it too. So I felt like this was my opportunity to kind of carve my niche. I could be the Gucci whale of 10K TF.
That's a really smart play. When all the attention was on Genesis, you were looking at the asset that was sleeping, but probably still, you know, very, very worthwhile because it's the same team, same ecosystem. And so if there's quality coming from Genesis or the value that you get from Genesis, then you can almost be sure that the Gucci's are going to, at some point down the road, play out in the same way. And, you know, like we still don't know what that looks like with the other side. Will there be avatars in Gucci clothing in the other side? Because I feel like that is going to be a flex in itself, in the same way that Gucci IRL is a flex, being one of 3,000 or 4,000 PFPs that can have that in other side is going to become more sought after, I think, as time goes on and as these bigger brands keep coming on board. So very, very smart play, Gucci. Carl.
Thanks, man. I mean, it's partly luck too. You know, there's always speculation involved. Back then, we didn't know anything about Gucci Grails or what was going to come with them. So that's one thing, though. You always bet on teams. And I think that's the biggest thing. Anyone in this ecosystem in 10K TF, you know, or pay attention to who the founders are. And one thing that I love about, you know, Fig and Beeple and Guy Osiri, Tim, well, they have fame and fortune. They don't need that. So that's always been something I've looked at, and just like, if you look at any other team that launches NFT projects, a lot of them, you know, are doing things for their own personal wealth as well. And I think there's a bigger mission and vision with 10K TF, and you're starting to see that play out. But I think this will be one of those, you know, there's always those opportunities where, you know, people overlook. And I think 10K TF's always been overlooked because it's not a PFP and people don't understand, you know, you have to actually dig in to understand why would you buy, you know, backpacks that if you don't care about the image on them. And so it really is trying to call for those true fans, and there's no community like 10K TF for that reason. It's really special and unique. And I think that's what Web3 is supposed to be, and it's all about. And I think as time goes on, we're just going to see more and more people finding their way over.
This is so true. Like, you have to see like how many DMs I'm receiving recently. It's like my inbox is going crazy. Like before, like just, you know, silence, quiet. Now DMs like, oh, hey, what's 10K TF? Can you help me with that? Like, why you like 10K TF? Can you send me something about 10K TF? I didn't understand 10K TF. Can you help me? Like, bam, 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 DM. I'm like, okay, something's happening here. Like in any social platform, people asking about 10K TF. So that's bullish. I love it. Absolutely. Like, it means they were doing a good job.
Yeah, and I don't think it's coincidence that the community's been really stepping up too. There's a lot more spaces. People even came in the Discord trying to kind of rally the troops, tell people, you know, get, you know, these other projects. Look, you need to get everyone out there spreading the word. And so it's like the perfect storm. We've got more community outreach right now, more tweets. You see everyone kind of retweeting each other's stuff. But then at the same time, things are starting to heat up in the storyline. So it's the perfect storm to kind of like bring 10K TF to the front lines. And there was a small time, and this is where like the volume of the 10K TF project almost doubled, was during the time where there was a lot of attention because a lot of influencers were trying to figure out what was going on. So bigger names were talking about it for a while. But that was one of the only times in the last 7 months that we were at the top of OpenSea volume. Just wait, though, until, you know, once it stays there, because the project is just constantly in demand. Because the project continues to release storyline every week. So you're constantly going to have people paying attention, wanting to get in. And I think that's when you really start to see the foothold of like the ecosystem that we've built really flourish, is because everyone's already put in that time. And there's really not a lot of weak hands or people flipping, because a lot of people are buying for the long run because they've done a good job of breeding like true fans of the ecosystem. So I think that's when I'm especially going to be bullish, is once we start climbing those ranks again, because that's really what makes people aware. People look at volume, bigger investors look at volume. So once, until we get into the top 5 or top 10 consistently, there's just not a lot of talk. You have to fight a lot harder to get people to pay attention. So the cool thing, and I just want to give you guys flowers and press and anyone out there that is putting on shows and spaces, because it really does help bring attention. And because of the storyline with this, people need that help, because it is like, to get caught up, there's a lot of things that you have to learn in this world of Wagmi-san.
And this gets into like a greater theory that I have about NFTs, where when you look at the asset itself, it's a attention-based asset. And I think most assets in the world are, even in the stock market, it's all about attention. It's why like when a stock makes the news, that stock tends to like start doing more volume. Same thing with NFTs. And it's interesting that when we relate this back to TV shows, movies, plays, or whatever you want to call it, 10KTF is that. But we can even go deeper into that analogy and say, okay, what is the show that, as like a producer, as like a creator, which one would you want? Would you want the one that season 1, season 2 are incredible, and then the quality dips and you lose the fan base and people kind of drift away and focus on other things? Or do you want the one that starts off slow, creates a core group of cult fans, and it builds slowly year over year over time until there's a crescendo where it's everybody's talking about it? And that's 10KTF. And where the analogy to NFTs falls in is that it's like, I don't know about you guys, but Westworld season 1 was incredible. It was so good. And then the seasons afterwards haven't been as good, and the quality hasn't been up there. And so it's not talked about as much. And I see that as like an NFT project that comes out with insane volume and everybody's talking about it. And then as the months go on, it gets less volume, the floor price drops, and people does less special feel. And then when you look at something like, I don't know if you guys watched Community or even Breaking Bad, right? The first couple seasons, if not more, of that show had really diehard fans, but it wasn't that big of a pool. But then as the years went on and as the quality consistently kept going, that show started to get way more attention, because it was like year after year, here they are putting out an incredible show, and then it becomes the talk of the town. And I feel like Breaking Bad especially did that, where that last season, they would come out on Sunday, and Monday, everybody would be like, did you watch? And they're like, don't talk about it. I didn't watch it yet. And we're like, okay. Don't talk to him about it, but with her and her and her and him, we can talk about it. And I see 10KTF in the same way. It's got a bunch of cult fans like us, and we're raving about it. And it's only a matter of time that this is gonna, like you said, Carl, really blow up and really hit that scale where it's consistently in the top 5, top 10.
And I think one thing that we need to think about and consider throughout all this is the hyperization that we're in as a society, the McDonaldization. Everybody wants it right now. Everybody wants it in a 20-second video that explains it all right now. Like, to understand this project at its origins, y'all, back in September, like I was writing my fucking ass off. And we were all speculating it out, right? And then writing it out. And then I started New Tokyo News, right? To try to get this information out to people, just trying to get the information out. But like, it's very hard to get people to pay attention, even if you're giving them great information. Even though the We Knew Labs team, like, there's a tweet that went out from the CFO that said, Diamond Hands knows this story. Like, Diamond Hands knows what's up, y'all. And then We Knew put a like on it. And then like, I'm trying to like keep all this rolling at a time where like the team's building on their end. And then all of a sudden, like, it got to the point where a month and a half, 3 months ago, I was falling apart, y'all. Honestly, like, it was so much. And so having teammates, community members step up, we're formulating a strong team here, a decentralized team that is much different than what's happening in the larger NFT space. And I can tell you that because there's none of us that are out here getting paid for any of this work, right? We're doing it out of the love of our own hearts, out of the love of being a true fan, out of the love of our community members, right? Like, I show up for y'all, y'all show up for me. It's what Carl comes on and helps us out, right? Ben Mayer White comes on. Everybody, how can we continue to build and work up together? I really think there's going to be some beautiful things that end up coming out of this by the end of the day. Everyone right now wants to get their own Twitter space and start holding it down. And I'm so proud of all of you for speaking up and saying, hey, you know what? I want to help out too. I think I can chip in this area, but I want you all to keep in mind, we're going to have a lot more places than just Twitter Spaces. We're going to need to build out as we continue to bring in the game facet, as we continue to build into what's going on in the branding and the business end. We're going to have other things, these introductory community spaces, and keeping people up with the 7th level of the story, the 8th level of the story, the 9th level of the story, right? We're already at that 5th level now and trying to peel people back to the 1st level so they can understand how bullish we are and how committed we are to this project and our community members. I mean, I know we talk about the emotional pieces all the time, but I mean, I think 2 Degrees said something that was, or maybe it was Squatch, like this is an investment that if you truly understand what's going on with a project, not just at like this face value level, but really the depth of what's happening behind somebody else's bag NFT, there's some great things coming our way. When I first bought into 10KTF, I literally got in the Discord. I was like, do I buy one of these things? Like, am I gonna make it if I just pick up someone else's bag? Because I don't own any blue chips. Like, I don't have money like that. And through 10KTF, through the grace of our community members and the grace of the team itself, I've been gifted things along this way that have given me the opportunity to feel like I'm making it too, y'all. And that's not by accident. You know, I got in the Discord, like, I'll never be able to afford a parent PFP, but through Gucci Grail Pass, I got a Gucci Grail Pass gifted to me. I had some socks, some community members kick me ETH, just like supporting each other along the journey, where that's not standard fare in what we do in NFTs. Like I've been able to get a parent PFP out of this and build a little bit of a bag for myself, just through the amazing support of the community and the projects that we work with. And so I'm really excited as we move in out of this PFP level of NFTs and into the business level. I'm really excited to see the way that's going to build and the opportunities that's going to present to all of us at the end of the day. That's how I know we're all going to fucking make it, y'all.
Can we just clap to this? Diamond, you're amazing.
Oh, good. Okay, we also have... He's in my ear. He wanted to chime in. He said that, Diamond, I love what you said. I think it's beautiful. But remember that I'm the one that gifted you guys to help grow your show. So we just got to quickly, 5 seconds. We're not going to be that long this time. Diamond, do you want to grovel this time or what's up?
It's hard for me to grovel when I'm stuck behind the grovel before the sheep. I'm stuck behind a sign, so it's really hard for me to grovel right now.
I'll say one more time, and I got to duck because Boss Wolf is just annoying, but sponsored by Boss Wolf. If you want to win a Genesis World of Women bag, Carl just talked about how much of a value that is. There's going to be a clip going out. Like and retweet that. Follow the damn show. And you might win one of 4 Genesis items. The first one being a World of Women backpack. Back to the show. With all that said, let's get into the third part of the Wagmi-san updates. When Moon says, how are we supposed to fight the Kaiju with just shoes and backpacks? Wagmi-san, we need to level up. The mech, and then Wagmi-san says, the mech is the key to the Kaiju problem, but it will take time. Level up is easy. That will be ready next week. We just need to prep a new shop for the Grailed. And then to himself, off screen, Wagmi-san thinks, can I trust you? Thoughts, everybody?
The thing that really stuck with me from all of this was the fact that, again, they talk about shoes and backpacks. Like, we have so many other items, but they talk about shoes and backpacks. So are they referring to Genesis specifically? Because we know that Genesis are only shoes and backpacks, and why not? They could have said, how can we fight with just the 10KTF accessories or 10KTF items? Why shoes and backpacks? So again, all of the speculation around the throwing bags in the fire, like burning Genesis, it comes back after we got this new image again. It seems like they want to emphasize that. They all level up. I read a lot of different speculation in Discord. I don't know. I've always thought about our tools, since we know that our level 1 tools are going to be upgraded, because we read it in the timeline, in the 10KTF website. I always felt like level 2 was going to be the upgrade of our tools, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure that that will not be a burn of our tools. Like, it doesn't mean that we have to burn our level 1 tools to get the level 2. I think level 1 tools are very important in the story. I don't think they're gonna get rid of level 1 tools, but maybe we're gonna just use those level 1 tools to access an upgrade that will lead us to an airdrop or a claim or whatever. I think Carl had an interesting speculation about this.
I've come up with several theories, and who knows what's going to play out. That's why I love going in the Discord and asking everyone, because sometimes it can kind of sway me in trying to figure out what's going on. But I think one of the biggest things that I've constantly thought about, and some people said that maybe they've shifted from this, and I do not believe that, because Wagmi-san is a man of honor, and if he puts something in writing, I don't see it changing. But back in October, I think it was, when he released the rarity chart, it makes it very clear kind of how you're going to get items or materials in the way of like rarities kind of playing a factor. And so I think that kind of obviously develop strategy for people when they're trying to pick up certain items. So it was always it made me curious, if this wasn't like an airdrop, how would we get items and stuff? So I think maybe I agree with your outlook on this. I think especially the fact that it says shoes and backpacks makes me think maybe you can level up your current Genesis into some sort of other items. And I think the cool part about that would be you'd be reducing the supply of Genesis while creating a new supply of a higher leveled item. And I think that would be really smart on the team, because then those level 2s would have more value, and it would shrink drastically the supply of Genesis items. But I agree with you, because we're going to need, I think, level 1, if this is kind of a stepping, like stair steps up to like you get better and better items, there's always going to be a need for level 1. And you've already seen how they kind of inject new level 1 materials through missions sometimes, and I think they'll continue to do that. Whenever there's a need for certain level 1 items, there's going to be ways that they can inject it into the ecosystem. And I think level 1 will always be the lowest tier. And so to have to burn like tools, I think that's the thing. There's some people that have talked about burning materials, or like leveling up materials or tools. I think we need those tools and materials for level 1, because I think that's the biggest, like if this was, like the lowest tier's got to be the biggest, because the most people can enter on the lowest tier. So you need all those types of items to continue crafting. And so then it's made me think a lot, and I'm curious of what you guys think about kind of that rarity chart and how like new materials and tools get played in. But I'm starting to think maybe that's not this week. Maybe it's just upgrading current Genesis backpacks and day packs, and then maybe that comes at a different time, because I don't think, there's one thing that Fig has made very clear, is that the less complicated, simple is usually better. And so I don't see them playing out like all these different facets into 1 week. I think it's got to be like they're obviously rolling out NTD, and then they need some sort of way for the NTD to automatically be used. And it would be a perfect way if you have to burn and spend NTD to level up. I think it's pretty simple. And so I've heard some people talking about that, and that's what I'm leaning towards now this week. And I think maybe the new tools and new supplies maybe come later. But that's just my philosophy, mainly because I think the more layers you add, let alone trying to explain it to others, like you're going to get more and more people confused within the ecosystem already.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that leads into something we haven't talked about yet. But if you go to Battle.town,
that damn Kaiju is making his way through New Tokyo, isn't he?
So that's a good place to start. Let's cover where the Kaiju has been, all the things that Kaiju has seen and done and destroyed. If you guys look on figure 1, he started at the Oni Force and made a muck of that. Thankfully, he left the red tower up, so that's not going to be that difficult to build, and I'm sure the Oni Force could find shelter in there. Then, as we saw, maybe warned the Pudgy Penguins on their anniversary, but the Kaiju destroyed Pudgy Penguins headquarters on their damn anniversary. Like, this guy has no heart and soul. And then now he's on. I want to say that's the what is that? Is it the Wizards or is
Like
that?
right behind, yeah, that was the Wizards. Right behind is the World of Women.
Okay. So now he's taken down the Wizards. He's got a balloon stuck on his teeth as he's walking. So it's a funny little thing he's got going on there. But let's head to Battle.town, because I think this is where, in the briefing, this is brand new.
Mhm.
And we can start down here. Moon, totally trustworthy friend. Look, I'm just a multitasker. You have to be when you report to two different people. And so that's from in reference to that last comic that we saw when Wagmi-san was asking, can we trust her? Moon probably feels that the Grailed and Wagmi-san don't trust her fully. And so she's like, look, I got to do what I got to do. I report to boss Figgy, let's call him, and Wagmi-san. But if we go into Battle.town, she says Wagmi-san needs time to finish that mech. Get ready to level up. Here under the freeway overpass, let's set up a super serious command center. And then this is the most interesting thing. She says next week we'll $dollars and sell some level up. So what that could mean, I mean, one, it means that new Tokyo dollars are finally coming, theoretically. We don't know if we might get rugged or not, but she also says that they're going to sell some level up. So to me, this relationship sounds like everybody will get an allocation of new Tokyo dollars, and that's a combination of the snapshot that happened in January. It's a combination of all the staking rewards, and then it's also all the new Tokyo dollars that we've earned throughout the mission so far in the past couple months. And then we'll have to buy level up, and it'll be, let's say, 50 new Tokyo dollars per level up, and then we can probably use that level up in some way to, like people said, upgrade the tools. Maybe it's upgrading our PFPs. Maybe it's upgrading our actual like Battle.town loadouts with like little badges that gets us more of a multiplier. So there's a lot of different ways where it could play out. And I don't think that we're all going to get a mech. I think that all of us collectively need to reach a certain level on this, because we've seen this quite a lot. I think we're going to need to reach a specific level, like maybe 5 million or something, for us to all collectively upgrade into a mech. And then that mech is going to go and destroy everything. So that's what I'm thinking.
I think there is like an amount of power that we need to reach to power the single mech we're all gonna be using. So yeah, that's why it makes sense to associate that with the electricity sign, all of the new Tokyo electric, how they call it,
Like,
the one that they had in the back of their t-shirts at NYC.
That was the new Tokyo Electric Company.
Electric company, yes, exactly. So like we are gonna, like, they work for the new Tokyo Electric Company. We all gonna create this energy, this electricity that is gonna power up the mech. So the only thing that doesn't add up is the secret sentence, like the hidden sentence that was on one of the signs at NFT NYC that says mechs as plural, and we're like, so why plural? Like now we're going through the thought that it's going to be only one mech, but there they say that mechs are the key. Again, widely speculate about this. I don't know. It's like, I would love to have a mech, okay, by myself. Give me one. But it makes sense from the dream, Wagmi-san's dream, where you see one mech and all of our PFPs that go through the face of the mech, starting from Figgy's ape, and the fact that you can have a legendary fight between one kaiju and one mech. So that's gonna look amazing instead of having a ton of multiple mechs. I don't know, unless they're referring to the other side, small mechs.
What if on Speculation Avenue, Speculation Valley, we all get mechs, or we get 6 mechs, right? Because of the 6 friends, 6 pilots, 6 mechs taking on a kaiju, and maybe they're smaller mechs, and we can't defeat the kaiju. So then we, like Power Ranger style, have to transform each of the 6 mechs into a giant mech that is on the same size as the kaiju, and then that destroys the kaiju. Like, I don't know. It seems pretty cool.
Not bad. Not bad.
I love the way that you like immediately tied Power Rangers into that. Like, hey, Green Ranger was my favorite for sure.
Yo, me too. Yeah, me too.
But yeah, what I was gonna say regarding those, those mini mechs and the opportunity for like larger mech builds is one thing somebody mentioned in the chat a while back. I forgot who it was. Shout out to whoever had mentioned it. But like when we look at the Kaiju, like the head of the Kaiju, the way that that's like shaped upwards there, take that and then look at the way that some of the Coda heads are shaped as well with that same horn structure right there, right? And so could the Kaiju be like a ultimate version of one of the Codas? We don't know what the fuck a Coda is, right? So I just, for me, it's like, is this going to end up tying in at another level as well with what the other side's doing? I don't know, but I'll be interested to see.
You guys are talking a lot about the fact that level 2 is going to be more exclusive than level 1. And you have good reasons to say so. But like for a second, just think about what other projects did. For example, also World of Women, they recently dropped the capacitors. We got WoW G and WoW capacitors. And if you get to acquire some of them, obviously the price is much lower than a WoW and WoW G. But they say in the description that you can access the power of the capacitor and whatever it comes with the capacitor without owning a WoW or WoW G. So they're actually giving access to more people with a new drop. What if this level 2 is actually a larger amount of items? What if all the people that entered 10 KTF later on can actually access this level 2 tools and materials much easier, like in a much easier way than level 1? Because level 1, especially tools, level 1 tools, goodbye. It's like they're so expensive. It's like people feel like they will never have a tool. It's like, okay, it's gone. I will never have a tool ever. But what if level 2 tools are actually cheaper, like because maybe there is more of them, or I don't know, they're gonna be dropped to people that participated in this mission. So even if they weren't around at the beginning when we initially got level 1 stuff, they can easily access this level 2 stuff. I don't know. I think it's something that it's possible as well, instead of like increasing exclusivity, reducing exclusivity. So you guys, you just arrived, you can participate too because of this, because like also blanks are so expensive. Also that entering the project with blanks is like such a crazy expense. Like I am expecting people to be able to enter the project in an easier way, not in a more difficult way.
I agree. I mean, I agree with the sentiment that it has to become, for mainstream adoption, there has to be, I mean, you have to eventually be able to be within the 10 KTF sphere without maybe even needing to buy anything. Once it turns into a game, for example, they're going to need to onboard people. You play the game, maybe you can play and earn, if you really dedicated, earn certain things. I don't know if we're there in terms of like wide enough attention for people to get to that point, because first you need, before you can get to that point where you have a really successful lower derivative of your main item, you first need wide exposure to people understand what the project is about. So obviously mutants had a strong demand because the apes had kind of solidified themselves. So I think that's when you start seeing those lower tiers play out. But I do think that has to happen even on a lesser scale, because even mutants are so ridiculously expensive. And I think they probably are consider that, but you have to have ways where you can, recruit new people that don't necessarily have all of the liquidity to be buying, like you said, blanks and items. But at the same time, Fig has openly said that he realizes it's an investment. So I do think that whether it's level 1 is the big, will always be the most valuable, or whether it's level 17 and then level 1 becomes easier somehow to be able to get. I do think that they're definitely aware that the people that entered early, it's an investment for anyone to be buying NFTs, and so they've said that. And I think that it's just a matter of how that plays out. But I agree that you have to open it up as it gets more attention and have lower tiers. It's just a matter of if that's level 1, that's going to be the most accessible, or maybe it's none of the levels. Maybe you know, maybe it's just earning NTD by playing missions or something, you know, for people that play the game when it's ready. But I think a lot of people think on a short term, like are very short sighted when they look at NFT because it's such a noisy space. But if you think about any sort of gaming, like tier one gaming, you know, it takes years of development. And so they're kind of letting everyone follow along and building, you know, their biggest base early on. And I really agree with the kind of the cult mindset that you were talking about earlier. Like they're going to keep rewarding the people that were there at the beginning while also giving opportunities for new people to enter. And I think that the way that they've built this ecosystem allows them to continue to add value to others throughout time. And I think that's really exciting too, to be able to kind of inject, you know, they're kind of like their own little Federal Reserve, like, oh, there's more items or more liquidity needs to be entered. So like, let's throw them some materials so we can craft more items. And they allow the people to be the ones that are really creating this ecosystem. And that's something we've never seen in NFTs. And I think that's like really exciting.
It's a great point with the Federal Reserve comment, because even when the socks or when crafting opened up, they limited crafting cloth to socks to a specific amount because that was going to overrun that market. And so that was a very thoughtful way of looking at the price of the cloth and socks and understanding that what happens if we just let everybody craft a bunch of socks? Is that going to be good for the project long term when you have, let's say, 5,000 socks crafted, because that's the most affordable one and that just floods the market? And so they're very thoughtful on each little piece. And it's one of those things where it's a security blanket, because I don't go to sleep worrying about 10KTF as an investment vehicle. I can just show up and I can trust the team and enjoy the story, because I know that what you in this ecosystem, in this project, and this isn't the case for everything, what you put in is what you get out of it. A lot of the trouble, I think, in NFTs is that which project should you back and invest time in creating a community with, because they're not all going to be Bored Apes and, you know, World of Women and any of the other blue chips. They're going to be, it might just be a dud because after 6 months the team moves on and they don't care as much and the effort goes away. So that's been such a comforting piece, and I think it actually enables and allows us to even build a show like the damn show, because we know that they're going to be there. And when you have that stability from their part, then we feel comfortable being like, okay, it's cool for me to actually spend the time, resources, and energy talking about this show and making it a central component of the show.
That Federal Reserve comment, like, hey, y'all, I sure as fuck trust the 10KTF team a lot more than I trust the Federal Reserve. But I love that comment. You know what I'm saying? As far as like understanding that this is coming in waves right now, like what Netta said, these stacked up snapshots, like looking at what's going on and the opportunity for more people to enter. It's not an accident that WowG got added recently. As soon as they, like, that's a pretty quick ad as far as their 20K PFP set coming out. I love seeing that as far as presenting opportunity for those lower level, I don't mean to say lower level, right? Like, we're all working through crypto and NFTs, so I don't want to tear that out at all. But like some of those more inexpensive projects, the ones that don't really have the huge cost that some of our blue chip PFPs do. And so to see that added and think about the next level that's coming, the level 2, I don't think it's an accident that we have these 6 things stacked up. I think this gives us an opportunity to kind of bring in that first wave. And so everyone in wave 1 checks out, everyone got their goods, and then we can start fresh with a brand new wave 2. And when that wave 2 happens in that new reset, everyone's being carried along at the same level, equitably along the journey.
I want to add in something too, because when you were talking, Atareh, it was just something that really, I think, needs to be said about 10KTF as well as other PFPs and blue chips is the biggest drawback or complaint about 10KTF is that it's not a PFP. People don't understand the concept and the storytelling. But one thing that I think is really important that people overlook and don't realize the importance of is storytelling and narrative. And that's all that 10KTF really cared about within the first season, is really building a strong fan base. If I get, you know that if Beeple or Guy Osiri or any of them were attached to something that was a PFP, it would blow up. And so they knew, they're smart, they understand that. So they are focused on finding true fans that are embedded into the narrative of a story, and then to reward those fans that have been along for the journey. Because we all know, based on Figgy's presentation with the PowerPoint, that PFPs or characters are on the way at some point. And so we know, if you're a true fan of the ecosystem, you know that. But it's about rewarding the people that are along the way. In the opposite scenario, though, when you think about any blue chip PFP, whether it's Moonbirds or Azuki or Bored Apes, none of them have really developed storylines. They're not coming with a storyline every week. They're not developing a storyline about like a narrative around what's happening within the ecosystem of the characters. And that is so important. And you're starting to see fallout from certain communities, because when you don't have that, you don't have something to grab onto every week. And so 10KTF realized that. They're Guy Osiri obviously is involved in Bored Apes, World of Women. I believe they're probably going to help develop storylines in those projects as well. But if you're looking at something to be bullish on within any sort of NFT ecosystem, the first thing you need is narrative. And that's the thing that's always been missing. You just have like a snippet about what all these 10,000 PFPs, where they came from, and then nothing. And so I think that's something that is often overlooked and looked at as a weakness within the 10KTF ecosystem. But I really believe they did that on purpose, because they wanted people to understand why you should get backpacks, why even get any of these things. And if you really are bullish on buying them, then they're not good. They can trust you more with a PFP, because you understand you're attached to the storyline. And I think that's something that is often misconstrued. Newer people that are entering 10KTF don't understand. But then they're like, why would I want a backpack? And it's like, why would you want a PFP without some sort of story? I mean, where's like, why do you want a Bored Ape if you don't even know what that ape does or what it's for? And so it's really important. A lot of people say, what the fuck's a coda? But like, what the fuck's a Bored Ape? What the fuck's a gutter cat? What the fuck's a cool cat? Like, we don't have storylines or narratives around any of these projects.
Oh, Carl, that's a clip right there. That was fire. Why do you want a Bored Ape when you don't know what it is? You know what I'm most excited about? And I said this honestly back in the space 4 or 5 months ago, and it just came to me as you were saying all of that. In the same way that PayPal had a mafia, and what the PayPal mafia, for those of you who don't know, is that it's a collective group of like founders and early employees that were part of PayPal early on, and they went on to do really amazing things. And because they're so impactful, it's like they all started at PayPal. I'm excited about the 10KTF mafia, because all of us early OGs and people that have really invested in this project, we understand the power of a story with NFTs. And when we do our own thing with an NFT down the road, you know that story is going to be such a core component of it. And 10KTF and Renew is really showing us the blueprint of how to do it right and keep it sustainable over time. And the things that the 10KTF mafia is going to do, I think, is going to be incredible.
Preach.
Carl, we're going to get into what you got going on at the Crazy Carl Collective. I'd love to hear more about that and the Beeple story. For those of you who don't know, Crazy Carl had the first ever Beeple space, so we're going to get the background story on that. I think it's another damn exclusive. Why don't we just start there? Carl, tell us more about the Crazy Carl Collective.
Sure. The Beeple story is an interesting one. For those of you that don't know, before 10KTF, I've always been into crypto since 2018. So, and before that, I was into gold and silver. So I was in more crypto because they're hard assets, and a lot of the issues that we see with inflation and things like that are a lot of the reasons that early crypto adopters kind of saw coming. But the big thing that I wanted to help share is like when NFTs came in to the space, you no longer needed to have like this financial literacy aspect to get like intrigued by it. So you saw a lot of adoption from NFTs, from things like Top Shot or Zed Run, because they're fun and they're interactive, and you see like value starting to be added, like sports cards. And so that's all you need to understand. You don't need to understand the market cap of what Bitcoin is or what that means. And so what I saw an opportunity with NFTs is like, it's so exciting to see so many more people, especially when you look at digital artists, that a lot of digital artists use a different part of their mind. They're not as business minded, they're creatives. And so it's like a great opportunity to educate about financial literacy and what is crypto, what are we even buying, what is an NFT, what are these things. And you started to see it over this past year. A lot of people understand a lot more about the intricacies, and seeing like the Federal Reserve losing control of the monetary supply now, it's so empowering, because you have like all these ecosystems that also are talking about all of those things, because they've learned about it over the last year and the importance of it. So, but last July, when I started getting into NFTs early last year, and then June or July came around, I also, like a lot of people, I never knew where my niche was within the crypto space, because I wasn't a computer engineer. And that's really all you need for a lot of these big companies like Uniswap. They don't need people to come in and just educate or like create content. But NFTs created this huge opportunity for content and education as well. And so I started a Crazy About Crypto show to help bring on people that I really looked up to in the space, and get them on to talk about their experiences. Some of them were digital artists, some were early, collectors of crypto, and then moved into NFTs. And so it's just really, it was a fun opportunity to learn, but then also educate others. So I always wanted Beeple on the show. That was like my number one guy that I wanted to get on, because I was a huge fan of Beeple. I had bought a couple of his pieces in the spring summer sale in 2021. The reason that I got in touch with him is actually because I was shit posting a little bit. I was waiting on my physicals for my Beeple, and I was complaining about it on Twitter with a couple other people. And all of a sudden Beeple hit up my DMs and was trying to sort it out. And I just took the opportunity and was like, hey, you can make it up to me by coming on my podcast. And then he showed up. And so it was really exciting. I think Jack Dorsey was in there for a little bit. It was just like, it blew up. There was like 1,000 people at the time. I think it was probably one of the biggest Twitter spaces ever held, and probably my highlight. And ever since then, I've been on the decline. So thanks a lot, people.
You peaked too early, Carl. You peaked too early.
Way too early.
I thought the damn show was your peak, Carl. I don't know what you're talking about. Beeple was your peak.
This is my comeback, baby.
The comeback tour. Yeah, we've nenever heard of Beeple. This is the comeback tour starting now. Crazy Carl Collective. Let's hear about that, Carl. What do you got going on with Crazy Carl Collective?
Yeah, so the Crazy Carl Collective is similar, in kind of regards to the story about why I started the podcast. I had got to know a lot of people, and one of the two things I always talked about on the Crazy About Crypto show, one is about conviction, buying projects that you really believe in. I do that. I try to lead by example. You see that now with 10KTF, but really understanding and believing in something, as opposed to they say that 20% or 80% of your gains comes from 20% of your portfolio. So I'm just going to put like 99% of my portfolio into what I think is going to be the big gains. And I neglect, I'm not great at diversifying my portfolio. Let's put it that. But at the same time, I think the biggest success stories come from people like that just take big bets and things they really truly believe in. So I got to know a lot of people within the Web3 space from them listening to my show, interacting with people. And one thing, I was a school teacher for 10 years. That was what I did before I went into Web3 full time. But I did a lot of side hustles, like driving for Uber, scalping tickets for concert events. So I've always been kind of like that hustle mind. So I always want to try to make more so I can invest. So I finally I became a real estate agent so I could sell real estate. And so I just started putting money into investments that were higher risk, but like had an opportunity, in my opinion, to really have exponential gains. And crypto is the same. That's one of the reasons I got into crypto. I'm even more bullish on NFTs because you can create a big, like a company or industry around them as opposed to just a currency. But I wanted to get to know people. And one thing that I got to know is that, there's a lot of people within the ecosystem that are just like, how do I make it? Or what's going on in the ecosystem, and wanting to learn. But a lot of time it's all about who you know in life and in Web3. I mean, I've talked to so many people that were surprised at like the guests on my show, because they're like, you really got all those people just because, I mean, I just kept asking. but you know, it's funny because it is hard to make it if you don't have connections. Like if someone with hundreds of thousands of followers wants to get, you know, Gary V on their podcast, it'll probably happen fairly quickly because he knows the exposure he'll get too. So it's just like, to me also, it's like this kind of unfair advantage of like being in certain niches. And I love what Diamond Hands was saying earlier about kind of the team he hopes will continue to use their resources to help others, because it's so true in a lot of ways. It is all about who you know within ecosystems. And so I wanted to create some way to give back to people that had listened to the podcast and wanted to be a part of something bigger and kind of build something within, because I also say it's all about helping others. You know, like if you really want to make it in Web3, care less about yourself and care about others, because that's what will actually bring you to the top. Or while you're building up success, build up others along the way, because they're the ones that were there for you when, you know, you didn't have it. And I talked about, you know, Fawocious on the show, he pulled up a lot of other artists as he grew in the space. And I just thought that, you know, that's really the way to do it. You know, going from selling $900 artwork and a year later selling $1 million artwork, not forgetting those that were supporting you and your friends along the way. So that's what the Crazy Carl Collective is all about, is like my way of being able to give back to all the people that supported me. A lot of my guests on my show got tokens. There's 3 pieces of art. I want it to be something meaningful. So it's 3 artists that I really love, which is Jasty, Myth Division, and Odious are the 3. So like big Web3 artists, and they all did derivatives of Carl. And we're building this ecosystem, and we've got in probably less than a month, we've got our first launch of, it's called Crypto Tats, but it's an digital artist that got into space named Nomos, but literally he didn't have the connections. And I saw his potential. I saw his art. It's so amazing. I was like, let's figure out a way to do a project. And so that's what we've been doing. We've been working with, we just find talent within. We've got a coffee, Crazy Carl Coffee. And, you know, I don't take the thing that boggles my mind is that there's so many PFP projects, and the people that are behind them making all this money don't necessarily give a shit about the community. They care about building this big brand and financial wealth for themselves. That's not what Web3 is about. And I say a lot of times we're in this era of Web 2 using the tools of Web 3. And I think that's what's happening. You know, we see a lot of entrepreneurs taking advantage of Web 3 and the opportunities it has. But really, Web 3 is more about organic growth. And you've got to actually build those friendships and those communities. And so that's what it's all about. It's just like, you know, if you look, there's only a handful listed on OpenSea, and that's just because a lot of the people, it's a free drop too. It's just people that I came into contact with that I really appreciate. You know, that anyone that mints them are able to mint them for free. So I don't make anything. 100% of the secondary royalties also go to a community wallet, and we've got 20 people within the community that make up the Crazy Carl Council. So my goal eventually is to pull back 100%. So it's, you know, all about like the council running everything and being able to decide where those secondary royalties are going, because I think that's something you have to show. Like, it's not about my wealth. Like it was very important to me that I didn't make any money from this project. If anything, I've actually bought tokens. So I've actually spent a lot more money on Crazy Carl Collective than I've made. But that's what it's about, is like showing by example, right? Like, you know, I'm not doxxed, but I also want to be able to show, like, as an anonymous person, like, if you want to make it in this space, it's all about the content of your character and the actions you take. And the same thing goes with people's demise, or, you know, and will play out if people show kind of the wrong intentions. Over time, people wake up. So that's what it's about. And it's a small community, and every few months we unlock some more tokens so that new people within the ecosystem can claim if we see like people that don't have a token but are like interacting. And so yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's just you know, it's like a club. It's like all the people that you met that become friends, and we're trying to help each other out.
And I'm in that club, and I couldn't be more proud to be a Carl. Hey, what Nomos is doing, the way you're building up, exactly what you just said, and so many times over, Carl, about like the support that we can give to others, that community's our strongest asset, that like to truly build and be the person you want to be, you've got to be able to see 2, 3, 5 years down the road, but really looking into the future and the opportunities. Like I said, opportunities. But it's not an accident that we're all coalescing, joining around this project. It's really based in honor. It's based in ethos and ethics, where, like you were saying, there's some people out here, they're just here for their own bag. But I know that in 10KTF, we got a lot of folks who are going to continue to build in the future, and they're not looking to build their own bag. They're looking to build something that's greater for the greater good. And that's how we're going to continue to evolve. That's how we're going to be sustainable in NFTs. And I truly believe that. So yeah, I can't appreciate what you just said anymore, Carl. We're really well said.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing up Nomos too, because it's like a good proof point for what the collective can do. We've got Architect, who actually, Trinidad Jack, some of you guys know him, but he's done a museum for the Grails, and he did one for the collective, but he's also doing it for the Nomos project. It's all about, giving your talents something. He's just enjoying helping out, but he's building there's going to be a museum of basically the Nomos artwork. And when you mint, you'll actually be able to see like some of the artwork prior, because a lot of it's all 1,111 of the pieces that he's created are all hand done. So it's not generative. It's not, so he's created them already, and it's just randomly sorted out based on, wherever they end up. But we can actually create a museum. So when people do this minting experience, it's so cool. They're going to get to see what they could potentially mint. And he did that for free. We've got, we've just volunteered our time. I've worked on a lot of the back end stuff, trying to work with dev. And yeah, there it is. It's really exciting because, we're taking nothing. Nomos is getting 100% because it's all of his time and his artwork. And I think that's the most exciting part. And then he wants, because we're spending so much time, he wants the royalties to go to the community wallet so that it can help build the collective. And I mean, that's what it's all about. When you think about others, they want to help out and help build you up. And I think it's just like a lesson for what Web3 can be and what we are striving to get towards. So definitely check out and support Crypto Tats by Nomos, because it's going to be a lot of fun and a cool narrative and cool story, and also super cheap mint too. It's 0.02 to 0.03 ETH. So also like want to make it really accessible.
I'll add all the links to anybody that you mentioned to the show notes afterwards, so people can go take a look. But Carl, that's really incredible. I had no idea about, I think, your ethos, and it's very commendable, and I respect that a lot. And I'm excited, honestly, to see you and what you build out in Web3, because I think when that ethos is behind what you're building and powering, like that, the potential for that is so astronomical, not just, I think, individually, but for collectively, for the people that you end up supporting and the people that get supported, because support means a lot, even if it's not monetary. Even just having that social support, I think that component for a lot of people, especially in Web3, where it can almost feel a little lonely because a lot of your online friends are in different parts of the world, and you only have like digital connections and digital tethers to them until you meet up in person. It's like those little components go the extra mile of like getting somebody to continue to build what they're building. So I really love and respect what you're doing. It's awesome.
I think a lot of this resonate through what we do as well. Y'all, when I started out New Tokyo News, I was fucking dying. Talking on stage for an hour and a half by myself, like literally by myself. Like, y'all, the support piece of this is so fucking critical. I couldn't do it without atareh, without Netta, without Alf. Right? Tails held it down with me for a little bit. Me and A-Bomb for a little while. We're just up there for an hour and a half chatting back and forth. If it wasn't just me, one day A-Bomb didn't show up. It like broke my heart. I was like, fuck, I gotta talk forever right now. Right? But like, there's these pieces that like the way that you can build out, the way that you can look to fold people into what you're doing. And when the time's right, like Carl's saying, be willing to take that step back, remove your ego, remove those pieces of self-preservation that have to be there, right? Like, because while this is all a very technological experience, what I've learned in the last year is that it's really a very human experiences that we're having. If you're willing to see the human side, That's where you're going to see real growth in NFTs and crypto. You can keep looking at your bags all you want to, but if you're really looking to grow and not just like financially, but as a person, shout out Ethan Shorts, who like is like, dude, through these last 6 months, y'all have fucking changed me. You know what I'm saying? Like who I want to be as a person, who I am. Shirt came down to visit with me from Canada, and it like left my house, and I was like, bro, like I want to fucking cry. Like I fucking love you. Like I just met you 3 days ago, and I'm like, well, get over here and let's cry together, dude. You know, like because like we don't have to be these big like, you know, we get taught these societal pieces of what's supposed to be and what can't be and what's not. We're getting to recreate something all different right now. We're getting to create something brand new and build a future that we get to see ourselves in. And so where Trinidaddy Jack can say, you know what, I can do this to chip in for the community. Where Atareh says, you know what, I could fire up a YouTube show, do some edits, bring on Netta and Diamonds, and we'll get down, right? Everyone's looking to bring in somebody into what they're doing to give out opportunities and keep looking to do that. All of our community members who are looking for opportunities, don't be afraid to keep raising your hand and saying, hey, I'm still looking for that opportunity out here, because closed mouths don't get fed, right? And so if you've got something that you're like, I know that I could apply this. Like, y'all, in my professional area, I'm a policy researcher and I'm a community builder. What I do. So I took what I could do, right, in my real world and brought it into what I could bring to crypto and bring to 10KTF. Right. And like watching it all grow from here, y'all, that's really like seeing people come up to me at NFT NYC and like, Diamonds, like, thank you, man. Like, dude, you don't have to thank me. Like, I'm here to thank you. I literally came here to get your signature on this little thing here because I fucking care so much about all y'all, because I know you care about me. And so when we take the technological pieces out and add the bits of our human self to what we're doing in this, that's where we're going to see the strongest growth. That's how we Wagmi.
Yeah, I want to add into that too, because I think what you've done is you really led by example. But when I talked a lot about this in the early days of the Crazy About Crypto show too, if you're not selfless with it when it comes to trying to get started in Web3 space, you're not going to make it. If you're just wanting attention. I remember the first Crazy About Crypto show had like 2 or 3 people in there. And I was like, that kept me going though. You know, like that's all I needed. I need one person to show up my second show, and I still talk to him all the time, because you know it's those people that were there and appreciated it. Like Diamond says, you know, you, as much as I'm adding value to you, like this, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't have a few people showing up, because I'd be talking to myself. And so it's so important to find value in others for what they do. And maybe that's just listening, and until they're comfortable with figuring out how they can add value. But once you figure out how you can add value, make it about that and that only. Don't make it about, I'm going to add value, but what do I get in return? You know, it's like, I'm going to add value because I enjoy that, and I really appreciate these people for what they've done. And so I love that you said that, because that's what it takes in building now seeing the spaces, pretty much any 10KTF space. You just put 10KTF in the title, it's going to have like 60 people in there. But it's a beautiful thing, because in Diamond, you really led the way for that. You led because the people became used to coming together. So you paved the way for all of the other 10KTF spaces, man. And, you know, just one thing that's really important is to give people those flowers and recognize them, because like Diamond didn't make any money from doing them, but he created the culture around doing them. And I was pumped when I found out there was a 10KTF show, and I was like, damn, that's a good idea, but there needs to be more. And then to see now the damn show and these educational spaces, it's just, it's inspiring. And it's people that really care about the community. You know, some people you'll see, and we've actually seen this when the floor was higher, that'll pop in and do spaces to kind of catch limelight, or be like, I'm going to do a space because it's popular, and they're not running spaces anymore. And it's like, you figure out where the true community is too, when all that happens.
To everyone that showed up in those days when I was talking for an hour and a half by myself, what Carl just said, y'all kept it going. Like, I wouldn't show up if no one showed up to listen, right? Like, then I feel like I'm a failure, right? But y'all showing up made me feel like I'm actually doing something that adds value. And so, like, you gave me value, or else I'd be feeling like a failure in what I was trying to do. And so that's a huge piece of what's going on here. And I just wanted to tap in back in and get in on that real quick. But yeah, we got some beautiful things going on at 10KTF, y'all. Stop sleeping.
The Twitter spaces that you were doing, Diamond, there is like something that I have to tell you. I don't even think I would be here if it wasn't for the Twitter space you started, because it was actually in one of the New Tokyo News that I spoke for the first time in a Twitter space in my life. It was you were you were holding it with Tails. I still remember, and we were talking on Discord. It was, I'm not sure, it was so long time ago, but something pushed me to request to speak. We were like 10 or less. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna say it, come on. It's just the thing is that I felt like I was in a safe space because we were like 10 for real, and they were the people that I was talking with every day on Discord. So I was like, okay, even if maybe they're gonna make fun of me or whatever, but whatever, it's my people. I don't know, I felt safe and I did it. So after that, it got easier and easier for me to do these things, to the point that now I'm in this damn show. But yeah, thank you so much. I think you did that for me, but for sure it happened for many other people as well. There was like the first step to actually getting to do more things in Web3 and actually think, okay, maybe I can express myself. People are going to listen to me. I'm not like, so uninteresting and I have to just hide somewhere in a cave. So thank you so much, Diamond. I just wanted you to know this. And Tails as well. You were holding it together.
That means the world to me, because like at that time, I think I said I was doing all the spaces by myself early, and then I was like, you know what, I've got to open up this flow. This flow isn't working. I can't. This isn't sustainable right now. Is what I was thinking in my head. And so it's like, you know what I need to do? I need to give the entire community and really open up this space, make it a community hosted space for real. And try to give people that opportunity to come in and share their voice and share their speculation. Yeah, I think that's a really beautiful thing. And that melts my fucking heart, to be honest with you, Netta. I didn't know that. I had no idea, because I think Atare's mentioned this. There's when we get to watch our friends step into something like a new show, or when you remember that first time you tapped into a Twitter space, it frees you at a level to go out and have confidence in whatever you're getting ready to go do. And when you've got to go do that thing again, it's not so intimidating anymore. And so breaking down those barriers for each other and with each other, that's Wagmi again.
Maybe as you're saying all that, I literally tried to find the heart button like we do on Twitter spaces, and I'm like, oh, I'm not on a Twitter space right now. But that was like a reflex that I went for. That's honestly incredible to hear that. And I know, shout out to Mitoshi as well. She spoke on the space for the first time at the campfire stories, and she had mentioned that she was very nervous, but that she was so happy that she did it. And then a couple of days later, she was in the Moonbird space as well, doing it for the community. And so it's like you take that first step and then it just snowballs. But for it to snowball, it's like you got to take that first step. You gotta be brave, and you got to just keep doing it. It's training that muscle of making myself feel more uncomfortable and continuing to do that every single time and time again. Whenever I feel that resistance come up inside me is when I know I need to lean into this more and go harder for it. And it's like all those little things, I know down the road it'll add up in some way where everything makes sense. But right now in the moment, it's like, this is dumb. Is it going to work? Is it going to, like, all those thoughts cloud you? But it's like, you hear those thoughts, and that's when you know you're on the right path, and you need to like lean into it more. I think it's an incredible thing. And this is, I think, the value of 10KTF. Yeah, you get PFPs and get a story, but like what you're also getting that sneaks up on you, you don't realize, is this incredible community of like really kind people that are like humans, like real humans that care about you as a person. And there's so many personal stories within the community of people's lives being impacted, and others, you don't realize that's what you're signing up for, but it does sneak up on you. And I think that's really beautiful. For me, the realization that like this game that we're playing, of like whether it's online or in life, when you understand that 99% of this is just about like making connections and pulling people up and having really good relationships, that's it. Like that's what this is about. Everything else will take care of itself if you make that your absolute focus and show up and bring your best self and consistently try to do the right thing. And people will falter and things get in the way, emotions, and the ego will flare up and all of that, but that's all about just navigating throughout that and consistently coming back to what's the real value driver in life for anybody. And everybody says it's relationships at the end of the day. Like that's it. Everybody that's old say that. I wish I had kept in touch with these people more. I wish that I had let go of some of the things that prevented me from connecting more. And so if you can just unlock that and really lean into it, and it's scary, but if you really lean into it, I think that that's really where everything starts falling into place.
I want to just again, I think there are so many parallels behind like the Crazy Carl Collective and 10KTF, or the beginning of the Crazy About Crypto show. It's just like it's so special when you get a lot of people together and then they want to work together to create something bigger. It's even better. We have visionaries in terms of the team with 10KTF. There's the Crazy Carl Collective is not, it's a totally different entity. It's more like it's more about just helping each other out. The 10KTF is going to keep adding value to all of its collectors for until we're not here anymore. But I love that, and I'd love to there. When you have community, it reminded me when I heard the Thimble song. We've got a Crazy Carl Collective theme song now. Maybe we play it at the end right before we close out. But it just goes to show like and another reason I'm an Anon and my name's not actually Carl, it's in real life, is because I think it's really important is we create these identities. Sometimes, like you said, we have to check our ego because we start getting full of ourselves if we think we're better than someone else. Whether you made a good move or you made a good bet on something or you just had the cards play out in a different way, you have to remember there's other people that maybe were just a few steps away from that as well. And maybe they could have used a little help to get to that point. Life is so much more fulfilling. And I think part of this is because I'm grateful that I was a public school teacher for 12 years before I got into Web3, but I have a business background in terms of my education. I think it's really important that, we are in such a capitalistic society that preys on people. It preys on consumers. And I think we're starting to see people waking up to that. But I think there's so many opportunities that come with that as well to kind of create these collective groups that just constantly are helping build each other up. Hey, you've got a product. I want to buy that product because you made it. Like I don't need to buy Starbucks coffee. I can buy like Crazy Carl coffee because this guy made this amazing blend, or like this NFT that's come in. I can't wait till everyone's repping Nomos PFPs because it's just going to be so dope to see like the people within our community supporting each other. And I think that's what it's about. That's when you start feeling special. It's the number one thing though, is you just got to start interacting, start talking to people, getting to know them. And within that, you'll start to learn about, the 10KTF storyline will follow. You'll be there to ask questions, but then you'll start to, it's a good way. Like 10KTF has really done a great job of opening up. And even I was going back to old posts, like they even were responding to tweets early about getting in the Discord. They've really been trying to build the community side, and they have all these mysteries that bring us together. And then we can talk about other stuff as well, which a lot of, you create friends and then learn about others and collaborate on other things. But it's just a special thing to be able to bond with others in this ecosystem beyond floor price or financials. It's the mystery and the narrative and the friendship is way more important than all that stuff, because if you have it, it just so happens that all the other stuff works out anyways.
I think that besides all of the bad behavior that we see in Web3, these people, the scam people and everything, is actually the most generous people that are getting the best out of this space. So I think this is a very good part of Web3, because yes, there are scammers and everything. They can scam you, they can get money and everything, but they cannot show their face because they will never have a group of people that will support them. They will never feel what we feel when we enter into a 10KTF event and have all this community, all of this, love that we feel from the rest, which for me, it's number one. Like that's the number one thing that we should be thinking about, that we should be trying to get. When you just think about other stuff and building your wealth, like Carl was saying, is it really that what like the most important thing for you in your life? So that's what I like about Web3. I see people like Swilson, people like, A-Bomb, or all the people that are, building these shows and stuff, that they're really doing it as an act of generosity, that they're actually getting recognized for it. they're actually getting all the love and support from all of us.
Carl, you mentioned that you have the Crazy Carl rap. We would love to hear that. And also, if you have any final thoughts, please tell everybody all your handles and where they can find you on Twitter and OpenSea, and I'll make sure to put those all in the show notes as well. But the floor is yours, the guest of honor, Crazy Crypto Carl.
I just want to thank you guys again for asking me on the show. I know, atareh, you had posted in the Discord a while ago, and I guess I hadn't seen that you had asked me on very early on when the show was starting. So I'm glad that we were able to reconnect in the Discord about coming on. I love what you guys are doing, and I think it's really important, especially being doing the podcast a few times a week for 6 or 7 months. I also know, after so many, it starts to take a toll. So keep going, stay strong, because more and more people will just keep coming and listening. And hopefully, in a few months or so, I can come back on the show again and hang out with you guys and talk, because it is a lot of fun just speculating, talking about community. And I think we're starting to see the domino effect hitting in 10KTF ecosystem, and it's exciting. So keep up the hard work. Yeah, I mean, in terms of the Crazy Carl Collective, you can just go to the handle that you see on the screen, Crazy Crypto Carl, and there's a link tree with everything from the coffee that I talked about to when we do the podcast. Links are in there, so you can go check it out. The OpenSea links in there if you want to check out the collection. So there's just a link tree that kind of covers everything. I'm going to play the song now too. I appreciate you letting me play this. It's actually been a while since I've listened to the song, because I haven't done a podcast, and we were playing this before every podcast as people were coming in the room. But I love the song and kind of what we've talked about during the show today, which is like that focus on community, getting started, helping others out. The song was made by Blocktunes, who also, they've done some other really amazing songs. They won the World of Women song contest and stuff like that. The guys that were the husband and wife that founded it, and they really wanted to do one for the collective. We're probably the smallest group, but you definitely shout out to the Blocktunes. You can check them out too. But it just goes to show the power of community, that they wanted to do a song for the collective, which really isn't that big. So with that being said, we continue to grow in 10KTF, continue to educate, and again, thanks for having me.
Crazy. We are Crazy Carl. Watch us, then join us. Crazy. We are Crazy Carl. Watch us, then join us. We are the Crazy Carl Collective, and baby, we're riding the crypto wave.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having me on. We'll keep up the good work, build Web3 the right way.
Hell yeah. One last time. Sponsored by Boss. Please like and retweet the clip that's going to come out, and Boss Wolf will bless you with a World of Women Genesis Day pack. I want to thank everybody for listening, tuning into the damn show. New episodes every damn Monday, and we got Maybe, we got Diamond, we got atareh, and we're out here every damn Monday. Thank you, everybody.
Crazy. We are Crazy Carl. Watch us, then join us. Mayday, mayday.